Sort of in the front, but also
Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's get started, please. Yes.
All right, we're gonna get started, so everyone quiet down and sit down. We tried twice, so.
Yeah. Thank you, Philip. I think I need the all the help I can get. So welcome everyone to our first town hall of this academic year, the 2022-2023 academic year. I hope you had a wonderful summer. And I have to confess that for me, this is the first time I've ever taken time off a little bit in the summer. So I went to Africa, I went to Nigeria to visit my family. And it was great just being with family and friends and rediscovering the rainy season. You know, if you've never encountered the rainy season, the skies open up for 6 weeks and the water just comes out, but it's delightful. But I also know that many of you spent the summer working. And I want to really appreciate all those that work so hard to really make summer term happen and prepare for this academic year. And you know, part of what was different because of all the hard work that was done is the fact that when the students came back, there was a very different form of orientation. And And so you see the students here, you know, blowing bubbles and throwing, doing things that are just so different to build community. And so the way that I know that I'm becoming, in some ways, a dinosaur is watching for all these new traditions that happen. And I'm told that some students discovered each other and they started doing the Congo, whatever that is. And but there was a lot of really building friendships, building relationships. That was part of our orientation this time. And really the theme for us this year that I'd like to start with and end with is the idea of building community together. And so this whole notion of WPI together is one that I really want us as a community to promote, as we not just orient our students, but also as we interact with each other, interact with our alums, and all of those that love WPI. It's this idea of building community together that I hope will be our guiding light. And so as I think about our North Star, our first and foremost priority is to keep healthy and keep health, safety, and well-being as top priorities. And if you notice in all the communication that's going out, this is the fundamental basis on which we're going to build everything we do this year. So stay healthy, safe, and really think about well-being of ourselves and our community, and in particular of our students as top priorities. And to do this well, we need to model good behavior, and that starts with myself. And I looked at my record in this area; it's not very good. And in fact, I used to joke with folks that the last time I visited a gym was last century, and so I think my record so far in the last few weeks has exceeded my record in the last few years. But really, taking care of self is important. Without taking care of self, almost everything else is hard to achieve. And of course, caring for the well-being of others. And as we do this, we continue to serve our students in unprecedented circumstances, in a rapidly changing environment in which we adapt. And if I actually look back at the last few years of what we've done as a community, I describe it as flying together on this spaceship that has landed us safely at this point by working together. And in the middle of that, a lot of things were not known, but the team hung together, and that's what's brought us this far. And as we now land at this point in time, I want us to really continue to support our faculty and staff as they deliver the critical mission of this university, and really take care to treat each other with respect. Now, you may wonder, you know, these all sound very lofty words, but my own observation from being at many universities across the world is that what really makes them special is how people interact and how they treat each other with respect, and how those communities, when they are at their best, serve the broader community around them and beyond them. And so for us, the guiding star, North Star, is to kind of keep these foremost at a forefront of our minds, and to really make sure that we don't just see these as words, but really guiding lights that guide our efforts in this coming year. So within that context, you know, it's kind of interesting to go back to our mission and our values, right? And for me, the thing that's sort of kept me here and glued here is what WPI does, right? WPI takes the lives of different folks and transforms them by giving them a certain kind of knowledge and approach to confront global challenges. Now, when you take that out and you break it, so there are two types of knowledge, I always say. So there's the knowledge you remember and you pass exams with and you forget afterwards, right? And there's the knowledge that stays with you when you've forgotten all the facts. So the real kind of knowledge is the knowledge that stays with you when you've forgotten all the facts. It's that knowledge that enters into you and affects your approach. It's that knowledge that enters into you that really enables you to find a path to solutions that you never dreamt of, and enables you to solve problems. And that's the kind of knowledge the WPI provides. That is what makes our students special as they confront different challenges, big or small, and as they take their STEM backgrounds through this approach of project-based learning, experiential learning, in an inclusive educational environment, solving problems in projects, as well as in research. That really is the grand mission that makes WPI special. And all of us here contribute to that mission. And so for us, I think this is why we came here. I remember, visiting WPI in 1995 or 1996 after watching a soccer game that disappointed me a lot. Nigeria lost to Argentina in Maradona's last game. Now, the only thing that beat that was actually coming to the WPI campus to see the campus with a friend of mine who had been a student here. And somehow there was something that inspired me about this place that I saw and I could feel from that first visit in 1996. And later on, when I had the opportunity to come here as a faculty member, it was partly because that first visit inspired me. And as I learned more and more about WPI, I sort of realized that WPI does education the way I want it to be done. It does research and projects that matter. And at the end of all of this, right, it really cares about the world, not just about Worcester. And that blend of what WPI does, I think, is part of why each and every one of us is here, right? Because we're inspired by these lofty goals, and we are excited to be part of the lives of the students that we prepare who go out and train the world. Now, as we do this, and this great mission is really phenomenal because it brings us together, I really think that for me, I have this year only one ambition. I have only one ambition, which is to build community, right? And I know we all love WPI, but really, I think the wonderful, magical opportunity we have today is to build community, build it at all levels, especially in ways that are inclusive and in ways that ensure that we provide each other with mutual respect. So if there's one goal that I have, and this is embodied in our values, it's really those three things: build community, be inclusive, and respect each other as we go through this year together. And I've highlighted those, and then I put in gray the other two values, which are also important. But for me, without the first three, building the second is not necessarily in an environment that we all want to be in. And so, yes, achievement is good, but achievement is not everything. If you disrespect everybody in the process of achieving, for me, that's not WPI. So achieving as a team, achieving ways that add value to the world, that is WPI. And innovating around solving problems, innovating in ways that create new solutions, those are, of course, examples of WPI, right? But we want to do this in a community that is truly a community in every way. People are inclusive of diverse perspectives and they respect each other. So I want to dwell a little bit on this idea of inclusion just to give some examples. So yesterday we had a retreat and I told a story of Germany in the 1920s. So Germany in the 1920s was the most successful scientific nation. And there were some of the very best scientists in Germany were Jews. And many of them were not as included in Germany under Hitler. And as a result of that, many of those scientists came to the United States and went to other places in the world. And those places welcomed people like von Neumann, Einstein, Praga, Timoshenko, all the people actually who built many of the major fields in America. What made them truly special was that they were inclusive communities that welcomed people from all over the world. What makes America truly special is that America at its best is an inclusive community that welcomes talent from all over the world. And so for us at WPI, with our students from more than 120 countries, I hope that we can make this place even more inclusive and build that as a community, and build that as a community of respect that forms the basis for all our achievements and our innovation. So I want you hopefully to remember this as we go through the year. And quite honestly, I'm truly grateful to everybody that has worked so hard to make this really an active summer with undergraduate summer research, all sorts of students from all over the country working in labs and learning and interacting within our community. So for me, research goes beyond projects. In some ways, learning is about solving structured problems and unstructured problems. So structured problems are like homework problems. They have some structure, you solve them. Solving unstructured problems means you have to discern from the mess of reality the structure that's defined in a problem, and then solve it by some activity that might involve some research in a way that provides some answers. And so exposing our students to these beyond the normal projects is part of how we develop students over time. And many of those students get inspired, and they are the ones that are the major innovators of the future. And so I'm really thankful to everybody that contributed to those summer projects, and also those that contributed to the sort of e-term activities, Frontier, summer camps, teacher training, project-based learning training, all the different activities that make up an active WPI summer. And then at the end of all of this, we welcome back the students. And I have to say, for me, it was just delightful going to just next to Morgan and unloading suitcases and trying not to break my back. But it was wonderful just welcoming the students back with their families and to see everybody that was out there to give our families a WPI welcome. And so beyond that, I want to thank all of you who supported New Student Orientation, all of you that were there to welcome the students in many different ways, and really all of the MIT mental health implementation team who worked so hard, right, to rethink how we do orientation. And so within this context, I really appreciate the inaugural first-year experience that was introduced and all that it represents for our students. And then beyond that, you know, there was this idea of a first-year experience, and we thought about how to really frame that. You know, so in the old days, not so old, I think Art will get up and say, do the work, go to class. And by the time he's done, I think everybody's scared. But his version, I have to say, was better than mine. My version when I went to school was from old Professor Earls that said, look to the left, look to your right. one of you won't be there. and and he was right. In those days, I went in a class with 30 students. 1/3 of them dropped out at the end of the first year. 1/3 came in from the year before. The second year was the same thing. Terrible, terrible. And so we decided to reshape that message, not just in terms of the message, but also in terms of the support. So the new student orientation this year took many, many forms, where essentially wellness was a major part of this. And the academic advising was done in stages in ways that were more meaningful. The activities for the fair spread over multiple days. And there was just a lot more richness to it in terms of thinking about well-being, thinking about diversity, and really building these ideas into how we welcome WPI students into this environment. And for those of you that haven't seen the new South Village Student Center, in fact, the new South Village complex, it's truly beautiful. Yeah, I know some folks were saying, oh, this or that. But when you go down there and you go into the rooms, you see the facilities, you see the esports center, you see all the richness that has been built and introduced. I sort of want to quit wherever I'm living and go live in South Village, right? It's really a wonderful addition to the choices that the students have. And WPI is also the kind of place where we listen to various suggestions. And in this case, we listened to suggestions by BIPOC students, by LGBTQIA students, who said that they needed spaces in which to build internal community. And again, thanks to the efforts of Philip Clay and Eric and others that worked so hard, we're now very close to having new social spaces for BIPOC students right here, as well as the Lavender Lounge for the LGBTQIA students, in ways that allow our students to have the identity spaces that they need for them to thrive. And the Oasis Center is also being renovated in a way that also provides that kind of space. Now, as I look back at my college experience, it's actually interesting just to see the role of community. I had a community of friends, 4 or 5 of us, that got together in our social space. Within that community, I was vulnerable. Within that community, I found support. Within that community, I could solve every problem. And I think in these spaces that are being created for our students, we are also creating that community for our students, as diverse as they are, to form community. But it's more than forming community. Beyond that, we have to create a sense of belonging. And in that sense, I truly appreciate all the efforts that have been made this year to really enable our very diverse students to have a sense of belonging. And in the President's House this year, we welcomed our diverse communities. And many of the senior leadership were there to really say to them that this is symbolic, but it's important. What we're doing by having these receptions at the President's House is to say that all of the groups, all of the student affinity groups are important, and they belong to WPI in ways that we truly value. And so, as we now look at what we have achieved in the past year, I want to highlight the outcomes from the strategic plan, Lead with Purpose. And as you know, this has 3 themes. The first theme is the student well-being, access, and affordability. And I would say the most major achievement in that area is launching the Center for Well-being and really translating to practice that vision in record time. And so later on, we'll be hearing from Paula Fitzpatrick, the inaugural center director. And you will just see through her just an amazing range of things that has happened over the past few months, right? Really translating from a practice that didn't put well-being at the fore to practice many of the ideas that came from the mental health task force that was led by Jean King, to really bring this to practice in ways that are enabling our students to really engage in very different environment. I also want to acknowledge the work that's been done on the Black student experience with Crystal Brown, Rob Kruger. And I have to say, as those results came out describing the Black student experience, in many ways, they really presented to us really serious challenges that we had to address. And in a typical WPI way, some of these efforts are now informing, for example, the Black student spaces, the hiring of more BIPOC and diverse folks in different places on campus. And I really want to thank that group for just providing us with the scientific insights, with people like Hermine Vedobaton, Crystal Brown, bringing academics, and somebody like Rob Kruger using his experience to help shepherd the study. But most importantly is the WPI community for responding to some of the challenges that were addressed and translating some of these to practice. And part of that was working with students over the summer, Jada Hines-Williams and Alexis, to really figure out what is the student perspective to what we're doing and make sure that we're really addressing the challenges of the students. Then in the area of purpose-driven research and education, I think one major theme that we achieved from last year was the agreement to infuse value creation into our teaching and learning, as well as our research practices. And so working with Kurt Carlson and Lenny Polizito and Ellen Piccioli, Bogdan Vanescu, and others, what we've done here is to really think about how to infuse value creation into all aspects of our research and education mission. And I think that this is one of the things that's really going to be very distinctive about our students in the years ahead. And later on, we'll be talking about the launching of a Center for Value Creation. That's going to be a major event for this term. And then Bogdan and his team have worked to create a new office of research integrity and research service centers. But even more important than that is Bogdan has become a bit of a celebrity amongst the board, you know. It used to be, I think, when they mention the word research, the board probably will fall asleep. Think, what's all this research, you know? But today, when you mention research, the board is excited about this new enterprise that's bringing $50 million or more to WPI in areas where WPI is making distinctive impact. And in this area, we have what I call purpose-driven research that's developing the manufacturing of tomorrow, the biotechnology of today and tomorrow, addressing real challenges, including mental health and well-being. And then this whole idea of the smart world, where we're taking the cutting-edge advances in machine learning and artificial intelligence and robotics and using them to develop this new era of a smart world in the Internet of Things and the Internet of Senses. And so all of these have really elevated our research. We have, for the first time, a WPI-spawned company that's moving towards a valuation of $1 billion in battery resources, Accent Elements. And so what this shows, and this is a company that was started by Yan Wang here at WPI, working in collaboration with others, is that WPI innovation is really translating to scale in ways that are making a difference. And at that level of translation, it means we have to elevate our research integrity support, and we have to build the infrastructure around this in ways that will enable us to achieve even more. And as we speak, I could tell you there are at least 5 or 6 other companies that are gaining valuation, and basically WPI is becoming a serious leader in innovation. And then the third theme is the inclusive community. And so we're committed to advancing the DEI goals through the Sustainable Inclusive Excellence Action Plans. And we're basically have introduced new policies and procedures to measure and assess staff satisfaction. And so that's just what's been achieved in the first year. Now, for me, a major part of this is staff representation. And I'm truly delighted to really announce that the WPI's Staff Council has been formed. And I want to really acknowledge any members and all members of this that are here present. Thanks to all the staff for participating in the election process. And thank you to the Staff Council for dedicating your time and your talent to WPI in this way. We're excited to also note that another 9 representatives will be elected in the spring of 2013. And there will be a representative of the Staff Council sitting in the Joint Coordinating Council of the university to ensure that the voices of all staff weigh into all the most significant decisions that go on at WPI. And by the way, you know, when I look at WPI, I say we have 750 staff, 500 faculty. And I know that for all of the staff, this is more than a day job. And I know that all the staff have a passion for our students, for our community. And I'm delighted to see the recognition of this in the Staff Council and the increasing voice of the staff in everything that WPI does. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for your perspectives, and really look forward to really this new era. And then for those that participated in year 1 of the implementation of the strategic plan, it's just incredible, just from staff to faculty to all of you, just the amount of energy that went into the coordination of all of this. And truly thank you for your contributions. Now, as we now move on to year 2, we're still focused on the same themes. Student well-being is really now looking at not just a 1-year enrollment strategy, but a 5-year enrollment strategy. So what we find is that for us to really achieve best practices and a sustainable approach to student enrollment, this kind of medium-term track is important. And of course, we're focusing on ways of building student well-being to even higher levels. Each year, we plan to take on different aspects in ways that will really enable us to support the students of different types. And we're also looking at alumni support as part of that trajectory. In the area of purpose-driven education and research, by the way, there's only one WPI ranking that I like, and that's the one that will never change, from the Wall Street Journal, that says the WPI in 2016 has the best balance of excellence in research and excellence in teaching. And I think that that's the sweet spot for us, but we shouldn't assume excellence. And so we're going to be investing in faculty, we're going to be investing in infrastructure, we're going to be investing in those things that ensure the WPI continues to be excellent. And by the way, we can't stop. It's interesting to note the WPI formed the first robotics program out of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and computer science. And we gave the first degrees in robotic engineering. And now we have a department of robotic engineering, the first of its type in the country. But all the other universities are trying to do the same thing. And so we have to keep growing that, investing in that in a way that ensures that our purpose-driven research and education remains strong. In research, we're building interdisciplinary communities. We're hoping to leverage these to form more centers. We're making sustainability a major theme. And so one of the centers that we want to launch in the coming year is a center for sustainability that will enable us to harness all of the research, all of the projects that matter in a way that will drive sustainability, not just beyond WPI, but also within WPI, right? And so we're very excited about these opportunities and the great opportunities to give WPI visibility through its impact in these areas that we're focusing on in research and education. And then perhaps most importantly is our inclusive community. And I think to really have that inclusive community, we have to live our values. We have to live our values, meaning we have to live with respect for each other. We have to be inclusive in our approaches and really make sure that when we observe differences in that, we call ourselves out. So yesterday, we did a little questionnaire, and I tried to answer all the questions, but there was a question in there that asked if I had consulted with all members of the WPI community on issues related to DEI. And I had to give myself a fail. The answer is I haven't consulted with all members of the WPI community to get the direct feedback in ways that involve me personally. It involves the institution. Yes, we have, but not me. So what does that mean? It means that I challenge myself to make sure that I get that feedback this year. And I encourage each and every one of us as we work with each other to get that feedback, whether we're leading small groups or larger groups, in a way that will use that feedback to improve how we make this an inclusive community. So I encourage all of us to invest in student belonging. And that could be as simple as going to lunch with a student and letting them know you care. It could be inviting a student from an international country into your home in a way that gives them a sense that they have a family away from home, that creates a sense of belonging, right? In ways that enrich our community. And so in doing all of this, I really think that we can create an inclusive community through our individual and group efforts in ways that can really transform WPI in the year ahead and beyond. And as we do all this, we're going to be measuring staff and faculty and student satisfaction to ensure that we continuously improve. So we continue to focus on sustainability, and sustainability is not just in abstract research, it's in practice. And so one of the things that I'm most excited about is the cogeneration energy project, where we're basically taking the power plant that we have on campus and working a deal with an investor that's going to come in and bring renewable energy of various kinds. And the financial transaction is going to pay the university within the next few weeks $45 million. And then on top of that, they will contribute between $300,000 and $500,000 a year for the next 40 years or so into MQPs, IQPs, and research projects in the areas of sustainability. And what we hope to do is to leverage those resources to address the critical needs of the university, but to also leverage those resources and work with Donna and her team in advancement to raise funds to really establish a sustainability center. And we want to make sustainability a moonshot for the university in a way that allows us to develop a center for sustainability that focuses on the solutions to the real problems. We also want to leverage the presence of this renewable energy center to really enable our students to study solutions at the scale at which those solutions happen, and to begin to visualize and experience sustainability as we walk around across campus. And so on the top of Unity Hall, you'll see some solar cells will appear. In Sagamore Road, we're also going to be introducing solar cells and various forms of renewable energy as we go forward. And this will extend from energy to food to waste management in a way that we hope will become part of our culture at WPI, in a way that I believe will truly transform our university. As we do this, by the way, we're now committing ourselves to net zero carbon by 2045. That is a real commitment, with real activities being planned and implemented in ways that will enable us to be an exemplar. We have committed ourselves to ESG investments, which are sort of socially responsible investment strategies in ways that, again, show our commitment to this journey to sustainability that will save our planet. So there's more to come on this. Michael Ran, CFO, assures me that in the next few weeks, there will be a big check that shows up once we negotiate all the deals. And I'm excited about what this really represents for WPI. Now, as we look then at our health and safety, in many ways, we've made a lot of progress with COVID, but COVID is not over yet, right? And I know that, at least for me, to be honest, I've had COVID twice. And so I'm not as scared of COVID as I was at the beginning. I think it's true for most of us. Actually, what I really want more than anything is to connect to each and every one of us. So I'm delighted the masks are gone, but I also know that we need to obviously manage for our community. And so it's great to see, you know, the managed care efforts that's being kind of suggested for this year by the MIT team. So you can find free rapid tests available if you have symptoms. And basically, if you think that you might have COVID, you can get some of these kits from these vending machines that are distributed across campus. And essentially, every employee is entitled to 2 dual test kits per semester, and every student is entitled to 4 dual test kits per semester. And if you test positive, you report yourself through a confidential positive case form, which replaces the symptom tracker. And basically, if you test positive, you self-isolate and at home or in the residence hall. Now, a lot of this, of course, really relies on the integrity of all of us to protect our community. And I really feel very confident that this is the right way for this moment to manage COVID. Now, one thing Philip assures me is that we're ready to pivot at any time. And so it's not that we're assuming it's all gone, but we're optimistic that it's all gone. There are plans in place to manage the health and the well-being of our community, no matter what happens. So with that, I think it's a great time to welcome our director of the Center for Wellbeing, Paula Fitzpatrick, to do a few well-being type of activities and to tell us about the great work that she's doing.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to be here to speak with you today to talk about what has been going on over the last 6 months since I joined WPI as the director of the Center for Wellbeing. Before I launch into that, we thought it would be a nice idea for me to share with you a simple really my background is not engineering. To share with you a simple. There we go. I wanted to share with you a simple stress management practice that focuses on breathing. So breathing is a great portable tool that is available to everyone 24/7, and it is a fabulous, simple way for us to be able to manage our well-being no matter where we find ourselves. So the breathing technique I want to share with you this morning is called 2-1 breathing. And in this simple practice, the exhalation is twice as long as the inhalation. This is a wonderful practice for activating the parasympathetic nervous system to really kick in a automatic relaxation response. So I'm going to lead you through about 3 rounds of breathing together. We'll be inhaling for a count of 4 and exhaling for a count of 8. So go ahead and adopt a comfortable position for yourself. You can keep your eyes closed if you feel comfortable with that, or open with a soft, unfocused gaze. And we'll just begin in for a count of 2, 3, 4, out for a count of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In for a count of 2, 3, 4, out for a count of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can go ahead and breathe normally now. And this is a great tool if you're feeling a little anxious before a meeting, have to have a difficult conversation. You can just pull this out and nobody even needs to know that you are practicing a stress management technique. So now let me launch into just a few brief remarks about the Center for Wellbeing. Our overall mission is really cultivating a culture of care at WPI. As we have heard a lot already this morning, this is an underlying theme for this academic year, and the Center for Wellbeing is very happy to be able to support these efforts. I was reading an article recently about how we are all teachers, and I wanted to share this Jack Kornfield quote with you because I think it is a great inspiration as we begin this academic year. Sharing what we know in little and big ways is one of the most rewarding acts of care we can do. Take delight in sharing. And I think for many of us, the pandemic has made it difficult for us to take delight in our teaching and sharing. And I hope that this academic year is a way for us to touch back into some of that delight. The Center for Wellbeing hopes to help support these efforts in 4 ways. 1, through our physical space, which will be opening up later this fall, through programming that we're offering to students as well as faculty and staff, through academic initiatives such as expanding our wellness and PE offerings, as well as IQPs and NQPs related to well-being. And then finally, research, organizing and disseminating information about all of the research that is being done to support well-being at WPI, as well as launching some new initiatives. Underlying all of the work we do is a holistic approach to well-being that really focuses on proactive and preventive strategies. As part of a newly developed wellness team that Charlie Morse is leading as the new Dean of Wellness, the Center for Wellbeing is joining the Student Health Services and the SDCC in supporting and caring for students. The Center for Wellbeing is a little bit different, with our primary emphasis on proactive and preventive strategies. Most folks who seek out health services or the SDCC are doing so because they are experiencing some challenges that they need some support with. The Center for Wellbeing is really meant to supplement those by providing some foundations for people to avoid running into problems in the first place. And we're really doing this by focusing much of our programming on these 4 domains of health and vitality, meaning and purpose, relationships, and community, which are all evidence-based approaches to supporting well-being, longevity, and health and happiness. The Center for Wellbeing is really here to help support people in developing a sense of balance in these 4 different domains, recognizing that balance is not a static thing, but is dynamic. The other thing that informs much of our approach to well-being, I think, is captured in a gardening metaphor. I really appreciate that well-being is a process. It is not a one and done. It is something that is ongoing, that unfolds in its own time, and is seasonal. And there are different seasons to life. There's times for energy, activation, sort of planting, reaping, harvesting, and for renewal and rest. And so we're really hoping to spread those messages over the course of this year as we're launching our work. Building a foundation of well-being is something that we probably have all heard quite a bit about. I have on this slide a number of important sort of daily practices actually that are necessary for providing a strong foundation for well-being. I'm sure most of these are not surprising to all of you. However, I want to underscore that while each of these practices in and of itself may be simple, it's far from easy to implement these in our everyday lives. And the Center for Wellbeing is really here to support you in that effort. We have a delightfully tiny team of myself, my associate director, Gemma Kamara, and our office service coordinator, Lindsay Baker. We're currently located in Unity Hall on the 4th floor, right next to the registrar's office. And we will be moving into our new space on the 1st floor of Daniels and Morgan Hall in a few weeks. And I look forward to welcoming you to that space soon. In the meantime, we have a number of initiatives to support well-being for employees. During the summer, we launched a Koru mindfulness meditation program, a 4-week program that we offered to faculty, staff, and graduate students during the summer. And in collaboration with Talent and Inclusion, we're continuing to offer that to folks in the fall. We also will be launching a Project Connect group, which is an initiative we're offering to students as well as faculty and staff to help people engage in conversations and just have fun and talk together. You've heard a lot about our mental health initiatives. Just a reminder that the Cognito simulation training is available for everyone to complete, and whoever completes it by September 30th will be entered into a raffle to win a series of prizes from the Center for Wellbeing. So please do make sure that you engage with that. We also have responding and recognizing students in distress that the SDCC is offering, and have posted some dates for those as well. Also want to just have on your radar, our June 23rd Wellness Day is coming up. We have a wonderful speaker in collaboration with SAO. Dr. Kate Steiner is going to be talking with us about burnout. The much beloved chair massage is back, so be looking for some signups for that. And the 1 to 2 p.m. time slot is really reserved for academic departments to offer some opportunities for folks in their majors and their programs to get together, and for staff members to engage in team building. So just a shout out to all of the academic departments. I really hope that you are able to connect with our associate director, Gemma Kamara, to let her know what you're planning so we can disseminate information about that. Oh, September 23rd. Thank you. Sorry about that. And with that helpful suggestion, I will turn the floor over to Lauren Turner from Talon and Inclusion.
You did it.
Awesome. I am delighted to follow. Actually, John, hold on a minute.
Sure.
I'm delighted to follow Wale and Paula. Thank you for those remarks. I am so pleased to be a part of an institution that has centered these ideas of community and wellness. Like, it's so critical to us. And so I just want to appreciate both of you, for your remarks. And so welcome to a term. I know we're a couple of weeks in. I hope you all, in the spirit of well-being, had an opportunity to have some rest and rejuvenation over the summer, and maybe you have some planned coming up as well. So welcome to our fall town hall. I have a few updates in talent. I'm going to see how talented I am too. Oops, see, these are the old slides. Okay, that's right. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to improvise. So see that slide that said to do? I did that, but I'm going to speak to it just from my All right, there's been a lot going on in talent and inclusion. I just want to tell you, I've been here 8 months. I don't know where 8 months went. Honestly, can someone help me find it? Where did 8 months go? But in that time, we have done a tremendous amount of work in terms of building the talent and inclusion team. And I'm so forever grateful for the team that we have assembled. I encourage you to reach out, to come by, to meet and greet. We will be doing some more community programs throughout the fall in collaboration with the Staff Council. But I would like to actually call particular attention to a person who I'm looking in the audience who is here today. And let you know that the Title IX coordinator role has bounced between talent and inclusion and student affairs, I understand, from my resident historian, Philip Clay. And when John Stewart tendered his resignation earlier this fall, Philip and I spoke about it and made the decision to return it to be a report into talent and inclusion. And I am delighted to, if I could ask you, Stan Horton, to stand. We have a new director of Title IX, Stan Horton, who comes to us via New England College. So welcome. And he's been busy. I think you're in week two. I don't want to rush things. So anyway, welcome. And Stan's office remains in the student affairs space here in Rubin Center. So if anybody needs him, and obviously can connect through email as well. I also want to share, you may recall my speaking about this in the spring when we last had an opportunity to get together, but we are now officially launching the project that I spoke about, which is the very comprehensive staff position classification and compensation project. This has been something that I think many here at WPI have recognized has been an important initiative. We have engaged the assistance of a consulting firm, Siegel Consulting. They're very well respected in the higher education space. We're actually meeting with them this afternoon to launch the project, which means we're going to build a timeline and a plan for what needs to get done. The next you will hear from us very likely will be related to, we want to create an advisory group that will include members of management and members of staff, probably working through the Staff Council. And the very first project, you all can brace yourself and get ready because you will be involved, is to update all of your job descriptions. Some of your job descriptions might be in good order. Some of them you might not recognize as resembling anything that you do each day, but we need to start there because you can't begin to benchmark and look at salary and equitable compensation until you actually have an accurate accounting, of what people do. So more news on that. Stay tuned. We'll be working through managers and divisions to get that work done starting this fall. We are also currently in the process of reviewing requests that have been submitted by managers across the campus for staff promotions, and we hope to have that finalized within the coming weeks. And as you all know, we are slated to implement salary increases, as we announced, you might recall, in June, effective October 1st, with the sliding scale that depending on salary, you will receive a salary increase of anywhere from 3 to 2.5 to 2%. Staff Council, I know, Wally, you mentioned this. I just really need to say I am so appreciative. And Sarah, I'm not sure why you didn't stand, but maybe I'm going to make you now. Are there other Staff Council members in the room? Could I ask you to stand if you are in the room? Stand, please, if you are able. Okay. So we had a tremendous community engagement around this. When James DeLeon and I were working to help to usher the election process, we just kept getting, staff interest. We had 74 nominations, either self or peer. 40 of those were able to accept, and again, understand, because people have a lot of things to do. And we had nearly 65% of our staff population who are eligible to vote. So to me, I'm going to say that's pretty good. And you know what? As Wally said, we're going to be doing an election of another 9 in the spring, and maybe we can even up that ante, to more. But James and I met with the inaugural team last week, and it was a ton of energy. I mean, we have so much to do, so much to talk about, and so much good work to do on behalf of the staff that I'm just delighted to have that body, as an advisory council, to us and to the institution. I also would like to just also comment so that we are inclusive of all members of the community, because there was some feedback about concern about union employees not being able to serve on the staff council. And so, so that you are all aware, there are legal issues and others pertaining to that, because as a unionized workforce, they have a exclusive, I'm on 1 foot up here, can you all tell? They are represented exclusively by their bargaining unit. And so what we've said to them, because we instantly met with them when we realized, and we're going to be launching routine labor management meetings with them to, again, have similar conversations as we are having with the staff and as are available through our faculty governance as well. So excited, to be really substantively engaging. And you can't build community, as Wally said, unless we really provide those opportunities for substantive engagement and social engagement. So we need to strike a balance there. We have lots coming your way in the space of training and professional development. I won't be able to cover all of it here because you probably won't remember it anyway if I just rattle it all off. But I love the partnership with Paula and her team on the licensing of Cognito. Please, if you haven't taken it, take it. Talent and Inclusion might add some raffle prizes there as an incentive. It's a really good module. And honestly, folks, it's valuable for you here and for your personal life, as well, just to feel like you have some foundational knowledge, about how to, see something, and then, tools and resources to say something and connect people with resources. But we are introducing bite-sized learning. It's sort of a podcast type thing that James DeLeon is sponsoring that will be during lunchtime, but it's intended for you to just eat your lunch casual like a podcast and just listen in on a variety of topics. You can find information about them both on WPI Today and on our website. Later this month, actually, I think it's next week, we are launching, again, in the complete spirit of what we've been talking about this morning, a workshop on fostering respect and inclusion in the workplace. And I'm so appreciative of Donna Stock and her advancement team to be our pilot group that we will be presenting that to. Our goal is to get their feedback, tighten it up, make it really meaningful, and then really offer it across departments and divisions on campus so that we can begin to really build our common understanding and common language and accountability and behaviors around what that means and what that looks like when we say we want to build respect and inclusion, in our community. We shouldn't just expect that everybody, presents themselves with those tools and skills. It's nice to invest in them. We also are offering a variety of other open enrollment courses this fall: effective communication, goal setting, conflict, and again, a variety of wellness and more. So we're working with marketing and communications. Thank you, Maureen and your team, to build out our website. So there's information there for you to access what is available and to register for them as well. We are also continuing to do reviews of benefits. You may recall we made some changes in the spring with respect to our employee tuition benefit to make it available to employees much sooner. It was 3 years down to 6 months. We made some changes to our dependent tuition benefits as well, and loans under our 403B plans, which again are important for people to have access to them as another alternative for borrowing. We are also currently in the process of reviewing our health and dental plans. This is the time of the year that we work with our vendors to look at the plan designs, to look at utilization, to figure out if it's meeting the needs of our employees. And I will say one of the challenges I think we are facing is we have more employees who live out of the state of Massachusetts. We just need to make sure that we have an affordable healthcare option, for them to choose. Right now, I'm not sure we can say that we do, but that is currently in discussion with my team and our vendors and others. And we will be talking with the staff council and with Fringe Benefit Committee, about that and we matters related to benefits. We have, this one I think I have a slide for. Yes, so we have our ombuds staff. I want to just call them to your attention. So Christine DeVries, who's in the advancement office, has been serving as one of our staff ombuds persons for a while. And this past spring, I believe we had a process through which Chris Wolby was elected as a faculty representative. So they are available. If you need them for counsel or consultation, feel free to reach out to them. And lastly, I'd like to provide just a very quick update on the presidential search. I hope that you have been watching the updates that Chair of the Search Committee, David Lepre, has been providing throughout the process. He has been an outstanding chair. I am so appreciative of having him provide this service to WPI. He keeps reminding me that it's volunteer service, and I keep telling him that I'm going to double his pay. It's like, yes, yes. But he is a terrific advocate for WPI. I don't know if any of you have met him. And I have been serving just as an advisor to the committee, not as a committee member, but as an advisor. The search committee itself is 21 people strong. It has been fabulous. You should be very proud of those folks who are representing the interests of WPI. They have done amazing work. We launched the position specification, which you hopefully all had a chance to read, which was really a labor of love, which was informed by the many, many, many listening sessions that we held with community members in the spring. We then launched a national outreach search to gather a candidate pool. We had over 100, actually 125 candidates, strong and diverse, that by July 18th. The committee reviewed every one of those credentials. And I'm just going to tell you, these resumes and cover letters for presidential candidates could be 50 pages long. They have a lot to say. But the committee read all of them, and they measured and evaluated them against the specifications that we outlined that were important for the new president. We shortlisted that group. We did Zoom interviews with a smaller number. We then in person did interviews with even a smaller number. And now we have a slate of recommended finalist candidates that we will be sending to the Nomination and Governance Committee of the board. The next step of the process, which will occur in the next few weeks, will be that we have supplementing the search committee, 21 persons. We have advisory groups, which is another 18 people who are representative faculty and staff and students, who actually will be interviewing in person with candidates, again, over the next couple of weeks to add additional points of view and perspective that can be incorporated into the recommendation that goes to the board. And of course, the board ultimately makes the decision. It has been a really fabulous process. Again, I just want to, on behalf of David, who would say this and be upset with me if I didn't, say it on his behalf, thank the community for your engagement, thank the committee for their work, and thank the advisory groups for the work that they will be doing in the coming weeks. So thank you all. And I think that, Wally, all right. Very well.
Thank you, Lauren, for really a great overview, and thank you for the energy that you brought to this position and your great work on the committee. And I forgot to say, I must also thank Paula Fitzpatrick. By the way, Paula left a job as dean to come here to head the center. And it's really driven by her passion, her desire to do the work that she's doing. And she was recently on NPR, I'm told. So she's kind of a big star. We truly appreciate the work that you do and just what you've brought to this area of health and well-being. And as we look to A-term, there will be wellness days as part of our experience here. These will be ways of de-stressing and hopefully having fun that we hope will really affect our spirit during the term. So what you can do, right, is to prioritize care for self and others, and really think about how you can bring our shared values of respect, inclusion, and community in yourself and others around you. And this for me is really important. And I have the following suggestion, right? Each of us belong to groups, right? Let's practice this in our groups. And let's practice this in our leadership teams in a way that percolates through the whole community. And in that sense, everybody here makes a difference. And participate in the sort of Wellness and Community Day on September 23rd. This is owned by everybody. And let's really use those as opportunities to have no meetings, no classes, and no non-critical lab work, right? Sort of very critical. And take the Cognito training by October 15 to learn how you can notice signs of distress in our community in a way that will enable us to respond to someone in need. And there's lots and lots coming on for this term. We have a faculty forum, which will be held just in a few days, September 9th. It's an opportunity for faculty to get together and share experiences about things that have nothing to do with governance. It's really social interactions, building connections, learning from each other in ways that help us serve our students. And I'm delighted also to announce that there's going to be Arts and Sciences Week, September 19th to 23rd. It's really a fabulous activity that really enables arts and sciences to show just the greatness and the richness that the arts and sciences offer to WPI. And I remember when Gene King first came to WPI, there were a lot of people who would say, oh, WPI is an engineering school. And I would say, no, it's not. WPI has, of course, great engineering, but it also has great humanities and arts. It has great sciences. And those of you that know me will know that in another life, I would have loved to be a musician, right? And I actually find that in the humanities and arts, especially for me in music, that's where I first discovered creativity and the ability to express and perform. And part of the richness of WPI is the richness that we have in having the humanities and arts. And then in another life, I pretend to be a scientist, although I'm really an engineer, right? And in science, you discover nature, right? You satisfy your curiosity. And you also, of course, as an engineer, can solve problems. Those represent the richness of what WPI has. I hope you will join the Arts and Sciences group in celebrating arts and sciences at WPI. Then we have Wellness and Community Day, September 23rd. And then there's a big launch of the Value Creation Center on October 6th. For those of you who might not have heard of Carlson is one of the inventors of Siri. And so for my little son at home, Carlson is the biggest star in the world, right? Whoever invented Siri, but he's also a WPI alum. And he and a number of others here in our community are helping to launch and rebrand our Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center as the Value Creation Center. So I encourage you all to participate in that as we go forward. And Mike Oran, of course, is going to give maybe the most important update, right? The financial update on October 10th. And Mike has been extremely transparent, and I have to say also creative CFO. He's really the brains behind the sustainable power plant vision. And I think I really would like to encourage all of you to participate. So I just want to leave you with this image of playing together, right? And being together as a community. And if you would ask me what is the one goal that I have for us this year, it's really this idea of seeing this place as a place where we work, live, and play together, build community in ways that are real, with a sense of inclusion for all. Thank you very much. So before I take on the questions, I'd like to invite members of the leadership team to please come forward. Maureen. Oh, yeah, you can stay. So this is, let's stay on it so we don't have Lauren having to. So this is an important point. So for this year, what we have is group leadership. And I really want to acknowledge members of the leadership team, you know, and when you see us, what you really see is the idea of group leadership. What does group leadership mean? It means that I admit that I don't know everything. And in many cases, I don't know anything. But it means that I also appreciate just the great professionalism and value that our leaders bring to WPI. Now, as they interact with all of us, each one of us, in my opinion, is a leader that should own the spirit of leadership in what you do for WPI, what you do for our students. And in many ways, what we offer you is servant leadership, right? And so as we go through this year and as we answer your questions, we will answer your questions as a group. And in cases where we don't have the answers, we'll also tell you we don't have the answers. But I hope we'll carry this spirit forward in building community in everything that we do as we serve our students. And so with that, I'd like to invite the questions to this presentation. Thank you. So you can walk up to any one of the microphones and please feel free to ask your questions. No? Yes, and there might be Zoom questions. If there are, we'll capture those. Are there Zoom questions?
There's one Zoom question. I'll read
Yes.
it in its entirety. Is there a strategy in place to increase diversity on the staff council? I think that the staff on the inaugural council are fantastic, but I think the staff council would greatly benefit from having a more diverse representation and perspectives. This would help improve inclusiveness and a sense of belonging. So any plans?
Thank you for that question. Actually, I really appreciate it. And it was an intentional discussion that we had in talent and inclusion when we had the slate of winners. And therefore took the opportunity to select a T&I person. A T&I actually has an opportunity to select an additional person to round out. And we use that for that purpose. And however, being realistic, because Wally promised we will be realistic, we need to increase the diversity of our staff in order to ensure that there is also more diversity on key bodies like the staff council. I would say the same thing with the faculty. And so, yes, that is acknowledged. We maybe can hopefully do some more work to incentivize that, to really promote more diverse engagement in the spring. And I encourage all of you who are involved in searches to be thinking about how you build a pipeline of strong and diverse candidates so that we can actually build the community of diversity.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren.
Thanks. And that's the only question that came through Zoom.
Any more questions? If there are no more questions, I really want to thank all of you for coming. Have a great A-term. It's your phone.